Game servers work off the sole principle of host-client connections. It did not in the past, however, where the host is the central hub of all data incoming and responsible for sending the data back out to all the devices running. The client, you, are the one playing the game. All relevant data you are doing is sent back into the server, which then gets sent back out to all the other players, and so on. In the past, game servers used to run off something known as peer-to-peer connections. This is where the user's devices would communicate with each other and relay the information back. The problem with this approach was it was difficult to sync the two computers perfectly, resulting in slightly different outcomes. Depending on the type of game, whether it be an RTS, casual, or first-person shooter, there are different bits of data that need to be sent to the server and sent back. For simple games, this could be mere numbers like the player's health or a high score. The more complex the game becomes, the more data that it needs to be sent. For a first-person shooter, anything from the X, Y, or Z values of the player's position to the physics of a projectile would need to be relayed. Not only just simple data. In modern-day gaming, the host is responsible for predicting the next moves of an object on the user's end. This is to keep up with the fast-paced games of today. So now the host server, the database, is responsible for all data and determining what is most likely to happen next. For the developers of these multiplayer games, there are many variables that need to be understood. In one case, let's say a developer is creating a game with a middleware engine known as Unity. In order to communicate with the server and relay the desired information, the developer must create a database. Most common one is created with MySQL. Now the developer can directly communicate with the server using a top-level language of C#, but that opens the door for others to manipulate the data to their will. Instead, a developer will use a scripting language like PHP as sort of a middleman to speaking to the database. From there, the developer can implement their own code using C#, which can parse the data and send the data. In course, is translated into the game engine. Although on the top it may sound easy, just send info to the database and send it back out, it's a fairly complicated process. The database receives the info. That info is asked for from PHP, which then sends it out to C#, in turn turns your game into a living, breathing monster at fractions of a second at a time. I won't even attempt to pretend to know exactly how it all interconnects, but a rough understanding of databases is enough to get started.